Hey everybody, it's Steve, and I'm back today to do a quick little update before I do my town hall recap video. And that's because I think we should talk about these updates that were giving to us quickly for people that just want a short update on some big things. So it's going to be the SPS Liquidity Pool Rewards in DSC and a change to the ECR that they posted about yesterday. Also, thanks to everyone that's been watching my videos. They've been getting an uptick in views. And I think it's because a lot's changing and a lot of people are getting interested in what's going on. I also did a new setup for my video. Let me know if my head's a little too big, how the audio seems to you, and anything you want to say about this short video. If there's anything that might need some small improvements, I'm going to be doing some interviews soon. And so that's why I had to change around some setups in my OBS to get ready for that. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about the ECR formula first. So they're doing a change, and this should only really affect you if you play a lot, and then take a few days off and then play a lot again, or if you're a bot. Those are the only real people that this affects a lot, or somebody who just plays an absolute ton because they have nothing else better to do. And if so, don't worry, you'll play this a little less, but there's new Splinterlands games coming, and this almost makes sure that we'll have time for those. But basically, what they're changing now is that if you play your ECR down to 50%, which if you started at 100% would be 50 battles in a day, then your first battle that starts when you're under 50%, so you have to be, say, at like 49.5 or something, will it take 5% instead of 1%? And that means that basically, because of that, the new maximum battle somebody could do in one day is about 80 battles a day. Otherwise, they'd be earning no rewards for doing those battles. And so that is going to change things a lot. And just some quick little math, and thank you to Cryptomancer because I'm stealing some numbers from him, but it just saved me a little bit of time. And that's that it's about 220 battles before they used to do, and now they can do a maximum of 80. Combining this with the new rental change of needing to rent cards for at least 2 days, then the new bots systems are going to be delayed an extra day. They're going to have to spend more DEC. So overall, this should mean more money to the people in the rentals and less rewards for the bots. Caveat here: if the less rewards for the bots pushes enough of them out of the system, then we could see a decline in rental volume and rental money coming in. But if that happens, the one nice thing is if some of the bots leave, while that might hurt our overall numbers in the ecosystem, the amount of rewards getting farmed should get smaller. And if the active players are continuing to be incentivized to level up their cards and go further into the leagues, and less stuff is getting farmed and put into the marketplace, we could see a overall rise in prices if all we're losing is bots that were just farming rewards and hurting our overall economy. So that's just kind of some of the basic stuff about this. It's in general. Let me know what you think about it. The ECR formula update, I have no problem with it. I sometimes would push my ECR down to under 50%, but I tried not to. It was pretty much only on the last day of the season when I was really trying to get into, say, Champion 2 or Champion 1, and I played it way too much on those days. And it would be because I started the day somewhere more near like 70%. I do know that on my accounts that I do bot, I had never let them push their ECR down below 50 anyways. I always keep them in the 70s. So that's just the way I have been botting those accounts so they could play every day. But the difference with me and a bot farmer, I'm not renting cards to just play my daily focus in one day. Those accounts all have full sets of cards for either for either silver or gold level or whatever it might be. And so I don't mind. I want my bot just playing every single day. And I'm actually changing them not to focus on winning the daily focus, but just focus on winning. And the reason for that is because eventually we're going to be getting points towards the daily focus for just winning battles. And I want them to just try to do the best they can to win battles so I can really take a look at if these bots are pretty good players. I'm trying both the Splintermate bot out on a couple different accounts, and I'm trying the Archmage bot out. I do think the Archmage so far has a little bit of an advantage, but I'll be doing more videos on those in the future showing you the Archmage is supposed to be more premium and harder to get into. So it is good that it does seem to be winning more battles, even in the upper leagues, where some of the new bots are not quite as equipped of doing that. Now, we'll go ahead and talk about the liquidity provider rewards. Now, everybody knows that they were making a big, huff about the fact that the airdrop is ending. But now they're going to be doing a little bit of a change and bringing some of that inflation back into the SPS token. I'm a little bit disappointed with this, but not quite as much, and I'll explain why. And the main reason why is because to get these rewards, you have to be a liquidity provider. Liquidity providers have to buy the tokens and then match them up with another token and then go ahead and put them into liquidity pools. Now, some people might sell half of their tokens and put them into the liquidity pool, so there can be some downward motion there, but still they're locking it up into a liquidity pool, which takes at least a certain amount of tokens and takes them off of the overall marketplace and puts really good liquidity into the tokens. So those people are going to start to get rewarded. Liquidity farmers tend sometimes to be people that at least put some of their rewards back into the liquidity pool for like a compounding effect into their rewards. So they came out with a post that kind of explained that basically today we were giving out around 30 or around 53 million SPS tokens a month. And when the play to earn SPS is in place and the liquidity rewards are in place, we're going to be giving out around 37 million tokens. Now, additionally, we thought we were going to be down to about 30 million or 25 million tokens or something, but they're adding another 7.5 million tokens in SPS per month that is going to be given out to the liquidity providers. Now, the white paper did have these tokens set aside for the liquidity providers, so it's not like it wasn't going to come out eventually. I just thought there might be a couple months where the SPS token would be getting a big drop in inflation, but they decided to do this right away. I think part of this is they're giving people who have a lot of DEC sitting on the sidelines one more place they can go ahead and think about moving this DEC as opposed to into packs. So because with the airdrop ending, if you have a lot of DEC, you're going to have a couple different decisions. You could sell it while it's down at these very low prices. You can put it into the SPS DEC pool by selling half of your stack for SPS. That's kind of interesting because it hurts the value of DEC a little bit, but pumps SPS a little bit and then locks it into liquidity, and then you'll earn more SPS. Or you can go ahead and turn it into the store and buy potions and packs and get $1 value for your DEC right now. Now, because of the mechanic that they're going to add into the game where you can burn SPS at $1 to print 1,000 DEC, it doesn't seem that it's possible for DEC to ever go back up into the like anything more than about 95 cents to on like a long-term thing, because every time it spikes up past $1, there's going to be bots that can be burning it to go ahead and bring it back down to $1. And then just taking that arbitrage. It might even get up to a point one day if things are going great to where it's like always at like 99.9 cents on for 1,000, and the bots are just constantly taking a tiny bit of arbitrage to knock it back down under. But that's the most that you can imagine DEC being in the future, which is less than a 2x from current prices. So there is not a good reason to hold it for that kind of speculation. So once you're not getting airdrop points, I think we're going to see a big amount of people who go ahead and buy packs, and a lot of people that come into these liquidity pools. So when we look at all the pools, you got 1.5 million SPS a month going to people who are in the SPS BNB pool on PancakeSwap. This is a good pool to go ahead and highlight and make people put more liquidity into, because most outside money that comes into the game, one of the easiest ways to bring it into the game today is the Binance Smart Chain. Obviously, if you're in the Hive ecosystem, the Hive liquidity pools on tribal decks are absolutely great and easy and no fees, and come into the game very easy and out of the game very easily. But the Hive ecosystem is still a little bit smaller. The BNB chain still has much more users, so it's nice to see that they're going to have these liquidity rewards. I really do hope they try to get the word out to people now that if you're like a liquidity pool farmer on the Binance Smart Chain, this is a pool that's going to be rewarding if you're interested in getting into it. They are also going into the Ethereum pool on the Ethereum chain on A sushi swap. Now this one is kind of interesting because you'd have to get some SPS ported out to the Ethereum chain, which costs a little bit more money, and then you'd have to go ahead and get into this pool. Now this might be the most rewarding pool because it could be the one with the lowest amount of liquidity. But it also costs the most to get into. Now one of the nice things is that they do drop your rewards directly into your Splinterlands account, and I can tell you one of the most rewarding pools I ever got into was an Ethereum DEC pool because that was the one that they provided us airdrops of land tokens and DEC for being in, because they had to incentivize it a lot to get people to go out to Ethereum. I'm actually thinking about doing a position in this pool, but I have to get my hands on a little bit more Ethereum, and then I would be able to go ahead and do this because right now I've bought some things and my Ethereum stack is a little low. Also, I'm caught up in that Celsius nonsense and they have some of my Ethereum trapped and I may never see it again. So now that you look at the next one, you have the SPS Hive pool. Now this is going to be the easiest one to go into if you want to get some outside of the ecosystem risk. It's probably one of the more risky pools for you to get some impermanent loss in your SPS stack. But when that happens, it would be because the Hive token was going up or down. And you got to be careful with that one. I do feel like, ETH and BNB kind of move with the market. So SPS moves with it, whereas Hive can move on its own up or down, depending on what happens on Hive. And so if you're not paying attention to the Hive token and its price, this one is the one where you could have the most impermanent loss, but it's also the one where you could have the most upside because let's say SPS and Hive go on a run, because Hive starts to go up a lot and the Hive ecosystem is like, let's say Hive makes a run to like $3 instead of the 45 cents. Well, then you're going to sell off a bunch of that Hive and get a lot more SPS in there. Now, sure, you do get impermanent loss, but you end up with that impermanent loss being pushed into like a bigger SPS stack. It's kind of an interesting thing. If you don't understand impermanent loss for liquidity pools, I can go over that at the end of this video. That way only people who need to know can stick around for that. The next pool is the 7050 SPS per month. It's getting 750K SPS per month, and it's SPS DEC. That's kind of interesting. So here's the one that they went ahead and finally did a little bit less going to, and it's the one that would be a little bit most obvious for big holders of DEC to get into, because big holders of DEC have been getting SPS airdrop to them, so they already have both tokens, and so they can just put them in. Because of the fact that this is the easiest one to get into is probably why they're incentivizing it the least. I know I'm already in this pool on Hive Engine, so it means, yay, I'm going to get some SPS drop to me. I only have a few $100s in there, so it won't be very much SPS drop to me. I could look to be putting more in there over time, but I don't know for sure if I'll be doing that. I had it more in there because it was still counting for the airdrop, and I could pull it out now to have some liquid SPS for airdroppers, for Rift Watchers, but we'll have to see. One of the interesting pulls that they're adding, and this could push some more value into the vouchers, is a voucher Hive pool. Now, it's only 375K SPS per month, but this one also could be one of the more rewarding pools, but you'll have to be very careful on this and check the amount of liquidity. To figure out which pools are going to be giving you the most for your dollar, you'd have to look at the reward compared to their liquidity to look how much you would be getting per dollar that you put into the liquidity per month. So like an easy example, it would be if there were $10,000 in voucher Hive liquidity pool and it was getting 375,000 tokens given to it per month, then that would mean you'd be getting quite a lot of tokens per dollar of SPS, because if you'd have 375K divided by 10,000, right? So if we do the calculator, and if you had 375, bad with the calculators, 375,000, and when you divided that by only $10,000 in liquidity, each dollar of liquidity per month would get you 37.5 tokens. So you might want to put $100 into there. On the flip side, let's say there was $1 million in Hive liquidity pool. So you get that same 375 and you divide it by $1 million in the liquidity pool currently. And now for each dollar that you put in, you're only getting 0.375 tokens per month. Remember, that's a per month number, not a per day number. So you can see if it only has $10,000 in liquidity, you are at 37.5. You were literally getting a free SPS token every single day. If it's at $1 million, then you're not. You're getting far, far less. So each one of these, you'll have to look at the actual amount of liquidity in the pool once this gets rolling on the 26th and figure out where your dollars would best be invested to get the most reward. They'll probably average out. And in this post, they did mention that eventually they want to give SPS stakers the ability to vote on how this is broken up. And at that point, you could see the rewards drastically change. Like if people are not a big fan of the BNB chain, they could say, we're going to cut this down to like 375K and we're going to move the Ethereum pool up to 2.5 million. Because we really want to get the ETH people into Splinterlands, and so we want to give this really big reward on the Ethereum chain. So we'll have to see what they decide to do once that actually goes live and we get some voting going on. I could be completely wrong. Maybe people go, forget about Ethereum, fees are too high. We'll just completely remove this and put it all and split it up between the Hive pool, the other 4 pools. It'll be interesting to see what the actual holders of the SPS token want. This is where they talk about how we were at 51 million tokens per month, and then it's going to drop by 33 million tokens, but then they're adding back in. So once the new reward part goes on, the total amount minted per month will be 37,000. So it'll be 37 million. So we're getting like a 27% haircut. We used to be getting more than half an. You see, it was going to go 51 and lower by 33 million, but then they're sticking all these millions into the brawl rewards, the validator nodes, the ranked battles, and the liquidity pools. And so now the haircut on inflation is going down only by 27%. So that does mean that we're not necessarily going to see the SPS token rise just because less of it's coming into the marketplace. But hopefully there's some demand of people getting into these liquidity pools that pushes that back up. Now, they did also notate that they're going to do some DEC rewards. Now, this is something that's kind of interesting because they said they weren't going to do any more DEC rewards, and that's one of the reasons why I thought SPS might go up a lot. I don't really like this. They're saying that they're going to be doing some DEC liquidity rewards, and one of the things that's kind of interesting is this Hive Engine SPS DEC is in both of these. So if you go up here, SPS DEC. SPS DEC. So that means if you're in the SPS DEC pool, even though it's one of the lower rewards in SPS, it's also going to be getting rewarded DEC. Also, then for the DEC Hive, DEC DAI, and the DEC BUSD pools on PancakeSwap, Uniswap, and this one's on Hive Engine, all 3 of those will be getting 20 million DEC sent to them. Now, that's something that's kind of crazy to think of because that means that we're going to have a 70 million DEC per month coming out. But they did notate in the comments here, and this is why sometimes it's good to get the comments, 2 things, that Splinterlands is currently a pretty big whale in those liquidity pools, but their tokens won't count. So that means on that math, you'll have to know that, they're not going to be in there. So when I was saying there was like so much liquidity in there, you can take almost a third of that liquidity out when you do that calculation for where you should put your money. And then somebody else asked a question down below, asking Matt to clarify here that does that mean that we used to be having 350 million DEC a month coming into the marketplace? And he said, yes, that's the number we had coming into the marketplace before. And now we're going to be cutting that down to 70 million, which is about a fifth of the amount of DEC. That made me feel a little better about this. But the only way for DEC to get back up to $1 at this point of the game and really get to the point where SPS is going to get burned is if a lot of the DEC disappears from the ecosystem and the sinks out there in land and guilds go ahead and take it away. So I don't know if I'm as bullish on that happening as quickly. I'll have to, I'd already said it might take months, and now they're adding more DEC into the system. So I understand wanting to give people a reason to get into these pools. I just don't know if these numbers needed to be that high. I think people who play the game and get into these pools would still do that even without. You could probably cut these in half, and then we'd be even. I'd be even more comfortable. But we'll have to see how this affects the overall system. Okay, that's going to be the end of the video, except for the fact that now I'm going to talk about impermanent loss for anybody that needs that. So, okay, let's go ahead and talk about how impermanent loss works if you get into one of these. And this is going to be kind of a quick and dirty version of this, but I just want to let you guys know. So let's say you get into the SPS BNB and pool. And just for our example, let's say that SPS is worth a nickel and BNB is worth $200. I don't know their real values right now, so I'm just taking some approximations that are better for us to do. Now, let's say you have one BNB and you have $200 worth of SPS and you're holding them separately. Now, the reason why they say you have impermanent loss when you put them into a liquidity pool when one of them goes up is, let's say BNB goes up to $250. Well, then you would have had a $50 gain in your stack, right? Because your BNB stack would now be $250 and your SPS stack would still be $200. But when you put them together in a liquidity pool, now you have $400 in that liquidity pool. When BNB is going up into 250, the liquidity pool naturally rebalances your portfolio and is selling BNB into SPS, so that you would end up getting probably about a $37 gain. So your liquidity pool would be at $437 or so, as opposed to your overall stack being at $450. That means that you now would have a little bit more actual SPS tokens, about let's say before the 200 of them was, I don't know, it was like a couple thousand SPS. Well, you would have more of those, but your one BNB that you put in the pool would now be down to like 0.8 BNB. So if you pulled it out, you'd end up with less BNB and more SPS, but you would have more than $400 that you originally put in, but you would be not as well off as if you just held those tokens on their own, because you would have had that $450. Now, most people can live with that when the token goes up. That's kind of the good impermanent loss, I'd almost say, because at least you're getting more SPS and you probably believe in it. And BNB, you lost a little bit of it, but it's like you sold it to get SPS, and overall you got it at a good price, because now, your overall amount of money that you have in that pool is up. Now, there's also fees on trading that gets added into these liquidity pools to offset some of that impermanent loss, but that takes time, and it might make it be a little bit closer to even. So now the bad impermanent loss, the terrible one, is when the other token tanks. So let's say you're at your SPS token stays at a nickel, but BNB somehow goes down to $150. So the opposite. So now it loses $150. So now when the pool is getting balanced out, your overall liquidity inside the pool is going to go down instead of up, and it's going to go down by a little bit, a little bit more than what you would have lost before. So before, you would have lost $50 in that $400. Now you're going to lose about $80 worth of value, and you're going to end up with a lot less SPS, because you're going to be selling the SPS and getting more BNB. So now you might end up with like 1.2 BNB, but you're going to have way less SPS tokens, and the overall value of them combined is only going to be about $330, $340. And so that is when you just get wrecked by impermanent loss. Now, the way that is one of the reasons why a lot of companies will offer, and Splinterlands is one, these rewards, because if you gotten $50 worth of SPS over there on the side, or $100 of SPS over the last month being airdropped to you, well, then you don't have to worry about that losses, right? Because you're you don't have to worry about it. You've earned enough, and if that thing's going up and down, it's like, yeah, it's okay, as long as it stays at a total value of 350. My $100 means I'm in the profit, or at least if it stays at a total value of over 200, or over 300, I'm a little bit in the profit. And every day I get more SPS, more SPS, more SPS. Now, if you believe in both tokens, usually it's not a big deal, because you put the money in, and eventually when it takes it out, you're going to get back maybe more of one or the other, but you like both tokens and you think in the future they'll both go up. Both of them going up is the only way you don't get impermanent loss, and only if they go up by the same percentage, because then you would just get the exact same value gain in both tokens, and you would when you took them out, you'd get the exact same amount of tokens, and yay, you would have your full value. I've never seen that happen, but that is the way it would happen. But if both tokens rise, that then you in general you get closest to keeping the exact same amount of tokens in both of them, and you just get overall more value. I hope that was a little bit helpful. If you needed help with the impermanent loss stuff, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'll be back with the town hall summary later today.